don't believe that we should eliminate building codes. What we believe is that the building codes need to fit the environment. If you've had a chance to sit down and read this, there's a lot of stuff in here that applies to municipalities that are a lot bigger than Benson. And unfortunately, there's a lot of folks in town that are on a fixed income, that are retirees, that don't have a lot of money, and it's going to be a lot harder for them to do what they have to do as prescribed in this document. So my goal for tonight is to share with you parts of that document, and I've actually taken excerpts. Now, I haven't taken the whole thing, and I haven't taken every possible viewpoint of it, but like I said, I highly, if you haven't already, spend the time to read through here, because if this gets passed, this is what you're going to be bound for, or bound with, or have to follow. And you may or may not agree with what's in here, so if you don't, then now's the time to share it with those in charge. Okay, I put together a PowerPoint presentation, and I kind of like to go through it with everybody. And it helps me to organize my thoughts a little bit better.
Steve, you can take that microphone out.
Okay. And I put a disclaimer. While no private citizens associated with this forum claim to be experts about the city code, tonight we'll share our observations and concerns with you. Only those that conspire to create the Chapter 7 update know its true purpose. And, everybody's going to form their own opinion, and that's kind of our goal. Believe it or not, currently the city does have its own building codes, and admittedly they are outdated. And some of them, although were purportedly created in the 80s, there are references to the International Building Code, which is a fairly new addition to it. The current Chapter 7 deals with building within the city. It consists of 10 pages, broken down into 4 articles: uniform codes, form standard specification for public works construction, mobile home, manufactured home housing, and fire prevention. The new Chapter 7, the one that is contained within the document that everybody got a copy of, first thing it does is it creates a brand new city department called the Building Services Department. The second thing it does is it defines city codes. And the third thing it does is it outlines enforcement procedures for anybody that violates the city codes. Okay, the Development Services Department. What I found interesting was all the other departments are created in Section 3, which is called Administration of the current city code, but yet the new Chapter 7 creates this brand new department right off the bat. Secondly, it creates the Director of Development Services position. And I was at a city council meeting on January 28th. The city attorney referred to Luis Garcia, who's the current city's building official, as the Director of Developmental Services. Twice he pointed to Luis when explaining the codes, even though the department doesn't yet exist. So you be the judge. Why did he do that? Okay. The new codes consist of 37 pages, and that's what everybody got a copy of, but it also includes Chapter 7.1. Chapter 7.1 is kind of a supplemental to the original codes. The first 1.5 pages is what creates the Development Services Department. Then there's 7.5 pages that explain the permitting process and requirements. There's 13 pages of actual city codes, 3 of which are definitions to the terms used within the codes. That means 12 pages are for code enforcement requirements on 8.5 pages of actual codes. Okay, the city staff claims that the updates to the codes are needed to conform with Senate Bill 1598, which was produced by the Arizona State Senate. What Senate Bill 1598 really does is it mandates certain code languages that, in effect, is a clarification of what your rights are during a building inspection. So if you do a Google search of SB 1598, you can judge for yourself. The remainder of 1598 talks about development plans and requirements for the county to create their own development plans and other assorted things. Now, let's talk about another interesting topic, and that's grandfathering rights. Grandfathering rights, for those that don't know, give you the ability to, if you have an older dwelling, what guidelines and what building codes you're bound by for your older dwelling. So, in the existing city code it reads, if at the time of enactment of these regulations or any amendment thereto, or any amendment resulting from an annexation of territory to the incorporated limits of the city of Benson, any lot, structure, or use of a lot or structure existed in a lawful manner, but does not conform to the requirements or restrictions of these regulations applicable to the zoning district in which such lot or structure is situated, then such lot, structure, or uses shall be deemed to be a non-conforming use and may continue in the manner and to the extent that it existed or was being used at the time of enactment of these regulations or subsequent amendments thereto, and to such changes in non-conforming status as further provided by this section. So that basically means that if your property existed, you can keep it that way, as long as it applies to the building codes that were enacted at the time it was built. Now the new one is a bit different. Okay, the purpose of this section is to promote the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens of Benson, Arizona, and to protect the neighborhoods against hazardous blighting and deteriorating influences or conditions that contribute to the downgrading of neighborhood property values by establishing minimum standards for the condition of the exterior of buildings and by establishing requirements for maintenance of all residential and non-residential building structures of whatever kind in vacant and improved land. Number 2, this section shall apply to all buildings, structures, and land within the city of Benson without regard to the use, the date of construction, improvement, or alteration. Number 3, this section shall be fairly, sensibly, and reasonably applied to promote the maintenance of all existing buildings and land in the city of Benson. The intent is to ensure that individuals and families do not suffer undue hardships. And number 4, this section shall not require changes in existing buildings and utilities when alterations were installed and have been maintained in accordance with the City of Benson building safety codes in effect at the time of the construction or alternation of the subject building or utilities. But the one challenge I have is, it appears to me that number 2